I am now live. Welcome to a Nibs of Wisdom episode for Well Tempered Media. I'm Lauren Heineck. You might have heard me on the Well Tempered podcast, or you've been following along on these series here on Instagram and on Facebook. I see some of our friends coming in now. Nice to see you. Today, I'm going to be joined by Claudio Perez Cruz, who is coming in from Nicaragua to talk to us all about coffee and cacao and some of the fabulous projects that he's working on there. So, as we wait to see him enter the room, he's going to request to join the video, or if that doesn't work, we will go searching for him. And of course, if you have any questions during this episode, please start to leave them in the chat and I'll do my best to follow along as we go. And this will be available for replay later on. So if you have to check out early, or I think that's the request coming in, or dive in later, please do so. And here we go. We're going to have him join.
Hola,
Hola. Hi,
¿qué tal?
Claudio.
Hi, how are you?
¿Cómo estás? How are you doing?
Good. This is going to be
We said
an Spanglish interview, I think.
that's no problem. No, that will be wonderful for our audience as well. We all learn something. Tell us what's going on in Nicaragua these days.
Ah, it's hard. In Nicaragua, it's never easy. It's like always uncertain. Like the panorama politically is complicated to say, like that's an understatement. But even though with all the adversities, people always find ways to move on, and that's why I always say that it's hard to be an entrepreneur, but in Nicaragua, being an entrepreneur is even harder. But you see them, you see people trying to do new things. Gracias, don Isabel. So that said, even though the economy doesn't look like promising, there are some people like working really hard to, for example, with cacao projects, with coffee projects, trying to get products abroad. And that's what is kind of like sustaining the economy right now. This is a country that is mostly an export economy of agri-goods. So we mainly produce raw materials like for food, the top three things we export is gold, beef, and coffee. So
Wow.
right there in the raw materials, So, and then there's people like me trying to add value to those things and change a little bit of how the equation is made, and how this relationship that has been established for years can change a little bit into a more like fair situation. I see Viva la Finca is here watching. He's a friend in Canada.
Oh,
They
wonderful.
they're actually like good friends for coffee. We work with them too. We have good relationship. So yeah, I see a new generation as well, like people my age, trying to do things differently, and that's very like, at least it gives me hope. It's not the old mentality always. It's like new ideas, and also you see that in the farmers. You see new farmers doing new things. Approaching the quality issues differently, approaching their own like how they project themselves to the world in a different way. So that gives me hope among all what's going on.
Wow. Those are really great comments. Thank you, Claudio, for starting that way. And actually, one of my later questions was going to be, what is it like to be an entrepreneur in your country? And you sort of answered some of that for us so eloquently. I think it might be really interesting to start with then, hearing how you differentiate from that older model, that extractive model, that export model, and what some of your main that's not the word, areas of interest are for your business. Kalayo,
Kalayo,
which I
yeah.
think is also super cute to mention for a moment is tell us the story of why your company is named that.
Okay, so Calayo is actually my nickname, like my family nickname. Calayo is my name is Claudio, and Calayo is how I pronounced my name when I was little, and I couldn't pronounce Claudio, so I said my name was Calayo. Then it became a nickname from like my sisters tell me that way, my cousins, like everybody older than me calls me that. And then I said, okay, I'm gonna go into chocolate, into coffee. This is when I decided like how I name this thing, and and then I said, okay, for me this has been a journey, like being a kid. You know, when I first discovered specialty coffee, it was like when I was 25, like 5 years ago. And for me, that moment was like, wow, you know, like how can you question a drink that is so common in your 25s? You know, like how can you find so much newness into a product that you have drink all your life? And
So
then,
you had been drinking coffee since you were very young?
yeah, but never in a way that for me was just another drink, you know. And then when I had my first good coffee, which happened here, I have a bed and breakfast as well with my family. It's called Casa Lucia. And that's where I got to know a lot of people, you know, travelers, just people from different backgrounds. And one of these persons was a roaster. His name is Sean. He's a roaster from Indiana in San Cafe. So Sean gave me my first good cup of coffee in my life. And that's the reason I'm here today, because otherwise I wouldn't have like experienced that moment of like realizing, oh, there's a lot good coffee out there that I haven't tried. So once you go into that mindset, it's like you're being a kid. Like everything is new again. It's like that explorer kid that goes, you know, eat dirt, smell flowers. Everything is new. Everything is like you haven't gone to that path yet because you haven't seen the same product with those eyes before. So the more and more I dive into coffee, the more and more I learn about like Nicaragua's history, the more I learn about the farms, the more I learn about the processes. I'm also an industrial engineer. So for me, everything that is like numbers and variables, it just resonates with me. And then I realized you could do this in coffee, in a plant. You could have numbers, you know, you could have variables, you could have, you know, fermentation hours, pH, you could have days of drying, you could have processing methods. So then this is what captivated me, and I said, okay, now this is something that I really could do, you know, like this is something I understand the technical aspect of it, but how does that mix with the farm part? Because this is you know, I used to work before in a denim factory where everything was more like a factory, you know, like a huge factory. Your life is the same almost every day. But here is different because you're dealing with people, you're dealing with a very variable product, you're dealing with weather, you're dealing with a lot of variables that is so complicated that it's an art. It becomes an art to do it right. So that's what what I like about coffee. And then further down the road, I found out that cacao was kind of like the same too. Like when by accident, or by accident or by destiny, I have another guest. Her name is Megan. Hi, Megan, if you're watching. And Megan had a chocolate factory in Matagalpa. And in 2018, because of the crisis, she had to leave, you know, and she had all these things. It's like, where do I put them? And it's like, okay, I can have them. I had them for like a year, and that's how I started to do chocolate, you know, and how I started to get familiar with chocolate. And then the more I read about chocolate and about cacao, also the more I learned how cacao and coffee like relate. And
Megan
also,
is here, I think.
and also, hey Megan, and also they relate in our history. Like, if you dig deep in the history of cacao, cacao was here since day one. Like cacao was established here by the Nahuas. Nicaragua is even a Nahual name. Chocolate is a Nahual name. So the more I learn, the more I know that I don't know anything, So that has been the really what keeps me going is the learning part, and seeing how deep you can go in a process, like in mastering a process that is so vinculated to your country. I could tell the story of Nicaragua just talking about coffee and chocolate, literally. It's well, cacao was here from day one, and then coffee came in 1849. The gold fever. You know about the gold fever in the U.S.
I didn't actually know.
Okay,
we hear about it in San Francisco, and the 49ers there.
This created a route between New York and San Francisco, right? And a natural route was through Rio San Juan in Nicaragua, Lake Nicaragua, Rivas, and then to the north. So before that, Nicaraguans drank chocolate drinks. Like, this is how coffee came to be a product. Coffee existed here, but nobody, like, it was like an acquired taste. Like, nobody really demanded it. But then when you have all this input of foreigners coming through the country and demanding coffee because they had it as a custom, so the Nicaraguans say, oh, this could be a business, and they start selling into these people in the route. And there's even track that they would sell coffee for like $2 in Rio San Juan. So that's like expensive for that time. And this is when it creates a route basically of commerce between Nicaragua and San Francisco. This is 200 years ago, and we're still selling coffee is one of the main products. Like, the first product of export is still one of the main products of export till today. It's in the top 3. So this is when I start connecting the dots, and I say, like, we haven't really changed things. Like, we have changed the names of people, we have changed it, but the structures are the same,
Right.
And
so you've been witnessing like a stagnation, and by discovering specialty coffee and now formatting yourself in, I would imagine, which is a lot of training and courses, you've been able to see beyond that and to not only then provide value for abroad, but provide value for your direct community. Can you talk a little bit about how vinculated you are to your local neighboring people?
So, well, I'm in Managua. Managua is the capital. So it's not like I'm surrounded by farms. Here is like very concrete jungle. But I'm always out, I'm always on the go. So I'm always visiting when I can farmers in their farms. That's the fun part of making chocolate in an origin country and making coffee in an origin country, is that you can actually drive 2 hours, 10 hours if you go to Waslala, and be there and learn like directly. So
would you also mention, Claudio, to give us an understanding, I've never been there, for instance, and I'm sure a lot of people listening have not, like, what the terrain is like. So when you leave the capital, you're going 2 hours, 10 hours to mountains.
So you have 3 regions in Nicaragua. Most people live in the Pacific region. This will be the Pacific coast. So everything is like within Managua to all the Pacific region. The furthest distance is like 3 hours. So you can drive and come back anywhere in 3 hours. In this is more like altitude of like 300 meters, 500 meters. So not really high altitudes. But there are farms in Rivas for cacao. There's an island in the middle of the lake called Ometepe. And then you have the center region, which is more like flatlands. And this is like cattle region. And then you have the north region. The north for us is the mountains. The north region is Jinotega, Matagalpa, Estelí. This is the mountains. You have all the way to 1,400 meters. And then you have the Atlantic or the Caribbean coast, sorry. The Caribbean coast is huge. It's like, this is the most disconnected part of the country, like the less infrastructure to go there. And this is also where cacao grows very good. So one of our providers is Cacao Nica from Waslala, and to go there is like 10 hours in a bus. and the road is bad. Like if you go in the raining season, you're risking to get stuck over there. So this makes it complicated. But this is what I like about cacao and coffee, is that it really has the potential to put the money where it's needed. Like it goes to remote places. Like it has the potential to do that. Not many things have the potential to do that. So literally, you could eat a bar and put money in an area that is like 12 hours away from Managua. In a dirt road. That's the beauty of it.
It's a very powerful change.
Yeah. What in like my personal view of how I do business is that I recognize the complexity of growing something. Like making a good coffee is not a coincidence. Making a good cacao is not a coincidence. It requires some like knowledge of your craft, and like that you're picking in the right time, that you are basically all this accumulation of quality will be the end of the product. Like it will be there. So for me, what I look for when I look for providers or farmers is that they like I need to know them first. I need to know who they are. I need to know what they are looking for. I need to know their faces. I need to know names. I don't do faceless business. That's not for me.
Yeah.
I establish relationship with people I work with. The idea for me is to have all different origins of Nicaragua and find all different flavor profiles within coffee and cacao and chocolate. So the idea is to also highlight the people's effort, because I think in coffee, like 6% of the quality of the coffee comes from the farm. 30% is the roaster. In chocolate, I would say 60% comes from the cacao that you're using. 40% is who makes it. So it has a lot of value in the final product, the quality, where it comes from, who makes it, like the years they've been mastering it. It is more developed, I would say, in the coffee world. Is like you do have like recognized farms that they stand from the crowd because they through the years they've been like accomplishing certain quality. You don't see that much in cacao. In cacao right now is like there are 56 cooperatives in Nicaragua, but still it's hard to track to the name of the person that is like in the farm making it. So I do.
In the cooperative size, roughly how many farmers? Oh, we might have a connection issue. Can you speak up? Let me see if it's connecting back in. Oh, you don't hear me? I can't hear you. Let's see. If you have to, what we might do is have you like leave and then come back, but let's try again. I still see you. And don't worry, everybody. This is very normal for an Instagram Live. I saw it happen yesterday with a couple other folks. And when we've got these global connections, it can tend to, oh, you can't hear me. Okay. Claudio's going to come back then. Try again. Invite him back. I think it's working now. Okay.
Okay.
Great.
So it's frozen. Can you hear me?
I hear you, but yes, I do see the spinning wheel. We'll give it a moment. Frozen drinking maybe a cold brew can.
No. Can you hear me?
Yeah, okay, I think that's it.
Okay, so yeah, I was saying about the value of the farm work, I think a lot of, I mean, it's easy to say our farmers do this, you know, it's easy to like generalize, but what about giving to the people that actually does the work, you know? So that's my philosophy, you know. I think the recognition within the product, because it wouldn't be like as close as good if they didn't put all that work. Nicaragua has won in the last 12 years, in the last 8 years. Chocolates have won around 250 awards with Nicaraguan cacao. If you're able to point out who the farmers are, let me know, because I don't know, even, and I live here. So what I say is that, like, it's cool to be the chocolate maker that, you know, has all these awards and is recognized, but what about the recognition to the farmer that puts you there, you know?
Yeah. Can you go a little more granular in that? So I think you're exactly right. When we talk about farmers, there's often this very homogenous mention of, you know, a group of people, when maybe it's a group of 3 or a group of 3,000. When you're working with the farmers directly, what are some of the differences you find in between what their needs are, or maybe, you know, what they need to change about some of their practices for fermentation or for post-harvest? Like, what's that
Okay,
sort
so
of range?
I will tell you 2 words, because I know cacao and I know coffee. So in coffee, there's 44,000 producers of coffee in Nicaragua. So that's a lot, you know. And not all of them are the same level. You know, you have small, medium, and big farms. It tends to be that the big farms are the ones that do things right, because of course they have better branding, they have better recognition, they have better market access. 2, okay, they have trained people in the quality part, and they are able to manage to have a consistent quality every year. Not everybody in coffee does that. Like, this is the good, like you can say, this is the successful farmers, you know. And then you have other farms that, you know, they're barely making it. They are like just sending their coffee to a main exporter, and it goes with the stock, you know, no recognition over there. And this is the gross, like, this is the most of the part, you know. So what happens? This is in the coffee world. So I see in coffee, this is it's kind of like unequal, you know. You have people doing really great job and people doing very, like, getting the minimum for their coffee. So
Like,
it
close
is
to
really
the stock
hard because
market price?
commodity prices, yes, commodity and a little bit more. So in this case, the people that do a little bit better is the people that have some sort of certificate, you know, like a UTC, Rainforest Alliance, organic commodity. This will give them a premium, a little bit better.
Okay.
But I also have the chance to manage a coffee farm, and I can tell you it's a lot of work for little money. You know, it is really hard work, and I feel is underpaid. That's because the market, it basically puts coffee as oil. You know, it makes it a commodity. You take the human part of it and you make it a number, and then it plays within boundaries of market. You know.
Yeah.
But life is not like that. You have a cost of living, like your personal cost, the time, your dedication, your knowledge, your own work, like your own knowledge. So I think when you don't see a product that has a name behind it, then it's likely coming from one of these chains, you know. Because if you cannot trace it down to who is the farmer, then it likely comes from one of these relationships of, like, the masses, you know, like big bulk transactions. So this is in the coffee aspect. In the cacao side, what I see is you have mostly in Nicaragua. That's the difference. You know, the most of the cacao right now is in the hands of small farmers. So there's like 11,000 farmers of cacao, and 60% or 57% of those are in cooperatives. So this is good because like it is like a lot of cacao in the hands of like people, small farmers. The problem here is that they don't have, or they lack the technical aspect, like they haven't been, they haven't had the same chance to go to university. They haven't had the same chance to go to courses. They just need that part of like the technical fermentation of consistency to reach better markets, because they already have the raw material, the genetics they already have, the product they have, the passion for work they have. So what I see is that they're a step away of really like going after a better market. Right now, it's not that it's really bad. I mean, it is structurally bad, but there's a big player here in Nicaragua that they buy a lot of the cacao, from these farms. So they can rely to sell to that company easy, you just sell it there, no problem. But the price they get is just a little above the commodity price, but they could be getting a lot more.
They do things technically correctly, like that they are ensuring that there's quality control?
They have established their own protocols for their cacao, and everybody knows how to make it like that. So the problem for this is for milk chocolate though, not for craft chocolate. So when, as a craft chocolate maker, when you go to these, cooperatives, you have to say, no, I don't want that fermentation because it's not what I'm looking for. Like, I don't want this fermentation is going to be more accentuating for the cacao, the nuts, because it's going to be milk chocolate. When you do craft, you want more of the complexity side, Gotcha. And they can do it. They can do it. You just have to ask for it, But it's also funny because I have a relationship with many of these cooperatives, and sometimes not even I know what they sell. It's like, and I've been buying from them like years, and then I see maybe in a tasting, I go and taste a cacao or chocolate that is from a cooperative that I already know. It's like, I tried one of your cacaos. It was great. Like, what was that? Oh, that's another fermentation that we make. It's like, oh, come on. Like, I've been buying you cacao and you don't tell me that you can do all these things, And yeah, so that's the cool part to know the people that makes the cacao, is that, you can really get it to a point that is custom, what they need, I think, is support with the part of like making it consistent, through time.
And marketing it, like that's something we often overlook, I think, on the farmer end, is if they had those stories to tell, if they had the initials or the acronym or the cool sounding names that could say, oh, you tried that cacao, that was our, wowza, whatever. And it becomes more interesting than like, I have a big issue with all of these genetic strains where we just want to call them 3 letters and numbers. Like, we can make it more fun. We can sell it better for them as well.
So that's where I want to go with my project, is that I want to work closely with these cooperatives, because I can help in that part. Like, I do have the skills to like taste the chocolate, taste the cacao, say, okay, like this could work, or this could be better in this market, And also the thing is to realize that not all cacao is gonna go to like fine cacao. Like, the market isn't that big, If in coffee is still a small market, a niche, I see that in the craft chocolate is still small. Like, the largest specialty chocolate maker in the US can buy maybe a container, but that's the largest one. What about the medium one? What about the small one,
Yeah.
And these people, they have volumes, it's not like it's going to be a bag and that's all they sell a year. They need to sell 300 tons of cacao to make it. So it has to be in a balance where they can like get their product away, but also, reach it in a price that is worth it. So what I really want to like, this is my hope. I don't know if it's going to work. Like, I don't have a solution for the established model, but I think that if they could have an outlet to make their own products, let's say cacao, and they could have their own chocolate, like a farmer reached to me and said, Claudio, I want to make a chocolate bar with my cacao because I only have 2 tons. It's like 2 tons for me is a lot, but we could work like a profit share structure where they can sell it, I can sell it, and it's ours. You know, it becomes a joint product. This, I haven't yet tried it, but this is in my mind, and like what's next, what's coming. I think that's the idea, is also to transform more of this cacao. Right now, we produce 10,000 tons. Like Nicaragua produces 10,000 tons. Out of these 10,000 tons, 1,300 tons are processed in the country. This is by big industry. Not like this is not fine cacao. This is like it's called red cacao, which is just dry. And
fermented and dried, or just dried?
No, just dry, just dry. This is so we consume a lot of cacao in Nicaragua, but in drinks, like pinolillo, cacao. This is usually with sugar, with milk, you know, and the complexity of flavor is not demanded in the market. You know, they just want the bitter part of the cacao. So 30 tons are transformed by makers. We are 12 makers in Nicaragua. So
really?
30 tons out of 10,000 tons is nothing. But what if that changes? You know, what if that 30 tons start being 100 tons, or then it's going to be 1,000 tons? And then, I mean, we are seeing that we have won awards with Nicaraguan cacao, and we are not making more than 30 tons of chocolate. Like, that's the reality. We are making 10,000 tons of cacao and just transforming 30 tons in the country. So we are basically going after the small pie when we could be going after a larger piece of the pie, like with added value. The more value we can add, the more value gets to the cooperatives, to the small farmers, and to directly to the people that is working with the farms. So it's really hard to change that, because it's like we are already in an economy of scale, and also the market, I think they're not there yet. Like
the local market.
Like the local market, and even I see, like when I went to Chocoa, I thought like, okay, I'm going to Europe. This is the mecca of chocolate, and even I saw in the people coming to Chocoa, you still had to explain to them what is Bintu bar. What's the difference? Why this €7 instead of like 2 that I can buy in the supermarket, or 1 that I can buy in the supermarket? So even in what I thought it was going to be like a established market, it isn't. You know, it is not a market yet. So it is gradually that has to be a change. In coffee, it didn't happen overnight, and it's still happening. It's still like you have the 2 people, like the specialty coffee market, and you have the commodity coffee, you know. And those 2 coexist,
right?
But it's becoming more popular. See?
Yeah, I'm going to try to work this next comment into the question. So Gerardo is asking if the 2,000 tons for pinolillo and the fresco de cacao, which are consumed locally, and I think that was his comment, but I'm going to kind of ask you what needs. Oh, I think we had a little internet bleep there. So I'd like to ask you, Claudio, what might be needed to shift that local market, or like what could be introduced or changed about some of the habits or the ways of the past, perhaps, that you could introduce a larger consumption. And to Gerardo's comment, he's saying that about 2,000 of those tons seem to be coming from the.
Pinolillo and fresco. Yeah.
Did you hear that?
So your screen is frozen to me, but I can hear you well, so I hope.
Okay.
Yeah. So first you have to, like, than anything else, like you have to know of the people. Like, right? Can you hear me? Okay.
It was a little
Hello.
jumpy, but now I think it's going to work again.
Can you hear me okay?
Try now. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, what? Just lost you again. Yes, so Gerardo is right. It is that 2000 we're talking about for local consumption. And Claudia will come back in a moment and see how we could change the potential consumers' mentality there. Sorry, I'm not hearing Claudio. We're not hearing you. It's going pretty well though. I'm quite impressed by the connection. The image is very clear, so it just seems like we got something on the microphone. Nope, still not hearing you. If someone in the comments would let me know if they are hearing Claudio, and it might just be my end. Yep, it has fallen, the sound. If need be, Claudio, just come back in. Yep. Thank you all for letting me know in the comments what's going on. That's helpful. And if you have more questions, drop them in there and we'll try to work them into the conversation. And Claudio came so prepared with all of his data points. I'm learning a lot about some of these numbers and realities there. Okay, Claudio, you're invited. Let's see if it's accepted. I am a cacao producer. Local drinks, okay. Ah, interesting. Claudio, I think the invitation has been sent. Pinolillo is corn cacao. What do you say? Corn and sugar. Okay. Unable to join, it says Claudio. I don't know if you're still here. You are here. Okay, let's just try to send the invitation again. It's going out. Thank you all for your patience. What about now, Claudio? Any invitation? And fresco de cacao is cacao, spices, and like cinnamon and clove. Yum, that sounds nice. Thank you, Gerardo, for adding that comment. With milk or water? Nope, okay. Claudio. Claudia, can you click request to join? There should be, instead of me sending the invitation because I can't resend for some reason, if you would just ask to request. And we'll cross our fingers. Cruzando los dedos, right, everyone? That it works. Calayo, okay. Here, I'm sending it again. Let's see if we get it on the third time's a charm. Yep, here we go.
Oh, okay. So this is part of the daily life now.
Yeah.
Technical things.
It's okay.
So
And everyone is so forgiving.
where I was.
We were seeing if maybe there's an opportunity to introduce the local market to new forms of drinking or partaking of cacao and chocolate.
Yes, yes. So what I was saying is that first you have to look at the customs of the people and not try to impose something. With chocolate, it happens to be the case that, you know, high percentage chocolate might not be the first thing you go after because yes, this works in the European market, but in the Nicaraguan market, this is very new. Well, not so new, but this is very niche, you know, like not everybody is going to go after a dark bar. Like the reason people would do it, or the reason I've seen people is doing it is because of healthy reasons. You know, they are like in the in the fitness trend, and they are looking for these healthier products, not because they want all this complexity in flavors and everything. You know, that's their approach, because there's still not a market like that for it in Nicaragua. But I've seen, for example, we eat chocolate every day in cookies. We eat chocolate every day in brownies. We eat chocolate every day in mochas. We eat chocolate every day in different cakes. And we eat a lot of cake. Like Nicaraguans eat a lot of cake and pastries and stuff like that. And I found that he's laughing, Julio, because it's true. I see that, you know, the ingredients these bakers are using are mostly imported, like bought in Price Mart, which is like Costco, one of those. Yeah. And like these ingredients are coming from far away. You know, usually they are from like large scale production, cacao, maybe Africa. I mean, you could literally make local products that substitute this demand and be better quality and put a name behind it. Like, this is made here, this is made by this farmer, you know? Like, that's where I'm like right now tapping into, is like grab a product that people already know, like a brownie, like a cookie, and say, okay, you know what? This brownie actually was made with cacao from Matagalpa. Yeah. It's like, wow. And you can also make one with cacao from Waslala, and it's going to taste different. And then people can relate to the places because they know like where they are, like geographically. It's like, oh, have you tried the new brownie from Waslala? You know, and then they can, like, I think it's an approach that is a little bit different to the European market. You really, it's more like knowing who's going to buy from you and why. Yeah. So one of the things I see in the reason people are buying is the healthy part. Like, people want organic chocolate. They want a high concentration of cacao. They want also, I did a survey with the bakers, you know, like I interviewed them and asked them, you know, like, okay, if you could make any chocolate for your use, like, where would you start? What products you don't find in the market that you could be using? And surprisingly, the products people wanted that did not exist in the market are like organic chocolates. The other one was chocolate with substitute of milk, like instead of using milk, using like almond milk or using oat milk. And the other product was substitute of sugar. Like, they want to have like a Splenda chocolate. So basically, all these three like innovation opportunities are within the healthy line. You know, people want healthier products, and this is going in any industry that you can see. Like, people want, in general, you know, we have been so fast into a like industrialization of food that now we are like hitting the brake as fast as we can, because we have realized that we are eating all so much junk, you know. And the benefit of chocolate is that it could be a healthy product, you know. It could, if you don't add all these many layers of additives. So, and it could be good by itself. Like, it doesn't need this type of additives to be good.
And
so
do well for the environment, and do well for local peoples, and do well for ourselves. Yeah, through that consumption. Yeah. It's true. What I love about that comment, which I think is overlooked so often, is because, unfortunately, within this term bean to bar, we've reduced it to sort of one thing, when it can be so many more things. And, you know, especially when we're talking about areas where there's warmer climates, to not think about that cold chain, to say, this is a brownie, this is a drink, this is a mocha, and therefore it doesn't need to be tempered. We remove that hurdle from so many people who think that the only thing they need to do is export bars.
Or chocolate, because okay, Cacao-san is asking what's the best local substitute for dairy. I would say oatmeal or soy milk, because it's produced here. The other thing is like, I have friends that, you know, they make cacao based cosmetics. This is something nobody really talks about. And like, cacao butter is a good ingredient, like for creams. It's like a premium ingredient for creams.
Absolutely.
And I didn't know this until I met Makia, and she's like, try this cream, try this other cream. And all her creams, like everything she uses is made like with local ingredients. And one of them is cacao. And you don't necessarily connect a cream or something that is cosmetic to a cacao farm, but it does.
Yeah.
and you don't need all this flavor complexity in a cream, like you're not even thinking on that. So there's a lot of opportunities to like more than just chocolate.
Yeah. And it breaks my heart that knowing the cosmetic industry is so large and worth so much money, and that cacao butter sells on the market for such a high price, ultimately it's still sold at the same commodity to the farmer. I'm sorry, bought. And if that could be turned on its head.
And this is not like really so like because I quoted machines like to make the process, like the press is like $16,000. I mean, it is pricey for a farm. It is an investment, but I mean, with a relatively small investment, they could be having so much added value that they could be selling themselves. With not just the cacao bean, and that's it. Like that's the idea. That's the next step. I think in Latin America, well, Pacari said it very clearly. Like we are just always thinking that the only thing is to export the raw material, and we have been exporters of raw material, and now for 200 years with the example of the coffee. Mm-hmm. So I think the next step is to add value, that really goes into the people that is making the product,
Yeah. And long overdue. So Claudio, is it people like you, local entrepreneurs, who should send that message, who should go because they have a relationship already with direct farmers and say, I can help you maybe get this investment, and we find you the hydraulic press and you start doing this? Or how do you envision maybe some of those conversations or realities could come to pass?
That's always a question I have in my mind, like how to approach this, because in a way that it really works out, because there are some like logistics involved when exporting a product. Like you have to have a buyer, importer, you have to be a registered exporter, you have to meet the quality standards for the FDA, for example, things like that. So all these things are layers of complexity, So how to make it in a way that I can absorb that complexity, but also make a win-win product with the producers. That's really what I want to make, I don't have an answer yet for that, but yes, I think the idea is to, I don't think there should only be like one Calayo. There should be 50 Calayos trying to help 57 cooperatives, working together, but not everybody has that way of thinking, A lot of people just think, okay, the easy way is to extract and sell. And for many years, I thought that too. I thought that, I can, like, if I wanted to sell cacao, just cacao, it would be the easiest thing in the world for me. But this is not how I see myself. This is not the legacy I want to leave. So the idea is to see a little bit further of what is being done. And just change that little by little. I think even myself, I'm not ready like to take a huge order. So like for export and be ready like tomorrow. So I think first is first, be in your local market, like own it and understand really all the relationships, all the process. Like your local market is your test ground. You can change products from day to night, and tomorrow say, I want to make this, boom, and you make it. Nothing costs you to make that. It's just time to develop the product, and you try it, and you see if it works. You see what you can change. So I always say, like, for me, my customers is like my playground where I create. and I see what they like, I see what they don't like, and then I learn. This is how I see it. And once you have these learnings and you can scale up, then I think this is when it makes sense to start exporting, for example, because you already know like what you're doing. Your product, you have it nailed it. So
yeah. I think
yeah,
it
I
takes
think
a support system as well. Like I want to see people invest in you, and I applaud you for in Chocoa, for instance, you went into a conversation essentially asking for investor money. Would you speak about
yeah.
that day and maybe if something has come about from that?
Yeah, it actually it made noise. Um,
It was great.
so the idea in Chocoa, and one of the things we're trying to do with Gerardo that was here and the Cacao Transformers. So this is again one of the things that the entrepreneurs can make happen, because these are ideas that sometimes if they are just from the farm side, nobody's going to pay attention to them. If they are just only from like the exporting side, nobody's going to pay attention to them. But then when it comes from a chocolate maker, oh, this could be cool, So that's even the privilege you have just for being the maker. So the fact that I had access to be in that conference, for example, so yeah, what we are trying to do is to rescue Nicaraguan cacao criollo. This is a very ambitious project because it's hard. It's really like the complexity of the project is really hard.
Why does it need rescuing?
Okay, so cacao criollo is a white flesh cacao. This is very scarce, like variety of cacao in Nicaragua and in the world as well. And we think, that right now what we see is a lot of new players, a lot of new developments, a lot of what exists it is within the commercial varieties of fine criollo or fana criollado, forastero, trinitario. So we see, okay, what's going to happen is that they're going to go after the productive varieties with good flavor, but this variety that is criollo, that is rare, and that we might be like, it might be something that is only exists here, we don't know, and it's going to be forgotten, and it's going to be basically disappear.
Is there another variety that's sort of eating up at the land, or that they're planning more of, or what do you mean that it might not be there?
Trinitarios, mostly hybrids, Trinitarios. So what this is called in genetic terms, this is called genetic erosion, is when you have like all this the same, like the same genetics all over. And then the endemic genetics you basically don't have because you wash it away or you did not prioritize that. In the long term, what can happen is that, maybe there's something in this cacao criollo that would be helpful for like fighting climate change, and then it's no longer available. So it has a lot of potential. As a maker, what I want to make is a bar with criollo chocolate. Like I would love to make a bar with criollo chocolate, with criollo cacao from Nicaragua. That is not possible right now because it doesn't exist in that amount. Like you only hear of it like somebody says, oh, there are 2 trees in this farm, there are 2 trees in that other farm. So it's like, it exists, but it exists spread all over the country. So the idea of this project is to basically collect all of these cacao criollo and cacaos with criollo characteristic and take it into a level first of nurseries, and then in a commercial scale. Of course, like I'm not saying, oh, criollo is gonna displace the rest of the cacao, or it's gonna be better because of that. No, I mean, it has potential to have a. Are you familiar with denominación de origen?
Yes.
Like origin denomination. So it has the potential to be that. It has the potential to be a product that can be only produced in Nicaragua, like Porcelana is producing. Actually, Porcelana story is the one that got me inspired into looking more into this. And the Porcelana in Venezuela was rescued by Eraima Chacon. whom I had the pleasure to meet, at least virtually. And she explained to me like everything they did. They've been 30 years working in that cacao.
Yeah.
And for me, that's the type of thing that excites me. When people really like dive into something that is, is a plant, but this plant has so much to say, and it has so much to say because it has so much to say about the history of your country. It has so much to say about like a project of like what we think is the values that we need to be promoting. So it is in the case of Ecuador, El Nacional was the one that, put the Ecuador in the map. People started talking about Nacional and they forgot CCN 51, and they stay, Nacional is the one that basically became the poster child for Ecuador.
For fine cacao.
I think something like that can happen with Criollo.
And does Nicaragua have a cacao or coffee research center or gene bank? No.
We have we have universities like UCA is prepared to make a genetic, they have the genetic markers. Actually, recently, about 2 months ago, there are the first results of what is called the huella genética, or the fingerprint of like genetic fingerprint of the cacao. But in this study, they prioritize the commercial varieties because that's what the project was about. But they also include what they call árboles con características especiales, so trees with special characteristics. Among those, there are 2 trees that hit 100% criollo in the testing. So now it's not just like few crazy people saying we have criollo. It's like, okay, now there's proof.
Backed by science.
There's actually proof that backs that we should dig deeper into it, So right now, if you have contacts or people that is in the audience, they have contact about like biodiversity research funds, this is the moment to bring them out. And we're putting together an interesting team to do this, because what I found just by doing the research to pitch in the conference, just by doing this research, a lot of people approach and it's like, hey, if you have that cacao, I can plant that in my farm. It's like, no, we don't have it yet, but keep you posted. Or the other people were saying, oh, I know a person that they were into criollo like 10 years ago. So it being that at least 10 attempts of people trying to do this. We are not the new ones. We are just happen to be the ones that are in chocolate, in transformation. So there's a lot of like information there that could be gathered and systematized to do it right, So that recall to approach to us and conversation with them. Also, we have a American Nicaraguan Foundation. They are helping us to find resources. Tomorrow I have to go to talk to Oswald. He's a nerd in UCA. He's like the guy for the genetic aspect of the testing. So I'm gonna get him on board to work in this.
You should ask for his permission to record the session and share it with your profile with Calayo so that people can follow along with the journey.
So there's a lot of people like really interested, like even big companies. It's like, wow, what's going on? Suddenly everybody wants criollo. So that's good. It's so in the long term, what I see, like this is not a short-term project. This is a long-term, 20, 30 years, we will see the results of this. In what could happen is that we like, one of the things I've seen, in like, how can we differentiate as Nicaragua in the markets, and well, one of the things is having the intellectual property of certain products, and why not intellectual property out of varieties or processes. So the same like you see, for example, the Parmesano Reggiano, the same you see with Champagne, the same you see with Camembert, with Gouda cheese. All these people, they thought, okay, we're going to have this product that's going to be unique in the world, and it's going to be only made here. So I think Criollo gives that opportunity to future, maybe not even me, maybe like the next generation of chocolate makers, you know, to have products that they will be able to compete in the market.
Right.
But what I see is that this could be a flag for the makers in Nicaragua, and this is how we tell the story of cacao in Nicaragua to Nicaraguans, you know, to the rest of the world.
Right. Bring back
that's
that
what's
pride.
going on right now with, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
Because
so exciting.
it's really like people don't connect right now in Nicaragua. People don't connect Nicaragua to chocolate. Like when you say chocolate in Nicaragua, you're talking about Switzerland. Right. Like when people come from, you know, Europe or the US, they bring me chocolate, because in the minds of the consumer, chocolates come from outside, you know, not here. But if you say that about coffee, nobody's going to say, bring me coffee Italy. No, nobody says that, because people relate the drink to the farm. They don't relate the chocolate to the farm. Not right now. Like you bring them a bar of chocolate from Switzerland, and they think that's the good chocolate. A lot to be
that
done,
like lost
like,
in
the sense of,
translation
like,
between
educating the market.
Yeah. Yeah, it is really interesting how, you know, coffee, because it doesn't go through so many steps of transformation, it retains that connection to farm level. And like you're saying, it's so often disconnected with cacao. I really am eager to see in the future how we do bring it back to origin, and that, you know, it obviously that more can be made there, and that more pride is established for what they have to offer, and what they do and how important their work is, but also that, you know, that becomes more normal for you all, and that it's something that you can put on your postcards and on your GDP announcements.
In the GDP. Yeah. So yeah, what I would say now, like, I recently was part of the event called the Producer Roaster Forum.
Right.
And it's funny because the same questions that the supply chains of cacao have are the same questions that the coffee has. So they are saying, okay, how can we do more fair relationships? Okay, this is the same question in both supply chains. How can we do better with the climate? Oh, let's do regenerative agriculture. The same talk in both fields. So I had the chance to moderate a table with the entire supply chain in coffee. And it was cool that, you know, first we talked without boundaries, you know, no censorship at all, because everybody kind of knew each other. And the other thing is that we talk about win-win relationship. And even though it wasn't conclusive, we did find many positive practices, you know, that we have seen, that we have witnessed, and they're worth like mentioning. One of them being long-term relationship are better, you know, like the type of relationship that are going to come out of a long-term relationship with the producer is going to be better than just buying faceless with a click, you know. Yeah. This can apply to both chocolate and coffee. The other thing we see is that the farms that do better are the ones that have better branding, but not necessarily all the farmers have those skills. So the roaster or the maker becomes an ambassador for them. You know, like you are the face of that farm because you are carrying their name, and that applies to both. I think, like, just by the fact of mentioning where the cacao comes from, you're putting it out in the world, and if more people want to buy, then they'll find it, you know. The other thing that we found good practice is the diversification of crops. This has been talked all over in all forums. Yeah. Monocultures really don't work. You need to have different type of incomes because of climate change, you know. And then the question would be how can you incorporate the other products that these farms have into your offer, you know, because at the end it's a relationship, it's a business relationship. Right. If they make coffee and they make cacao, well, you can sell them chocolate and sell them and also be selling the coffee from the same farm. That's just an idea, but they could be making jellies, they could be making, I don't know, other products that you could be the outlet for those products. The other thing that we see is the fixed price story, like having I think the price is always the easy talk, to talk about better prices, good prices, but what really compose that price is what matters, because just saying, oh, there need to be better prices, but what is the cost of the product? What is the cost of living in that producing country? What is the interest rate they're paying? The conversation is far more than just price.
Right. Yeah.
And the other thing that we
into
see
the price, I think, those.
And the other thing we see is the exporters. I mean, exporters are, the needed evil. It's not really evil, but they are needed. They are logistical suppliers, and if you could buy a whole container, you might not need an exporter, but the chances are you're not buying a container, so you will need an exporter. But what kind of exporters do this industry needs, or both industry needs? And this is the question. And the kind of exporters that we see that are better, or are that add value, not extract value, are the ones that are relationship builders, the ones that are transparent, the one that promote origin trips, the one that are clear to both sides on what the conditions of the market are, when the changes are. So it is needed. An exporter is needed for the supply chain, but is the how it's done what matters as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, those were some learnings I wanted to share, just because it's so similar in two industries that could be different, but there's the same questions, the same issues, is the same problems. But the problem is not the product, is how the structure is done.
Yeah. The systems behind it. So you mentioned that there were 13 chocolate makers in Nicaragua at this
12.
moment. Is there a lot of synergy then between you all, or those up and coming chocolate makers, and the coffee roasters or coffee suppliers at this point?
Yeah, with the chocolate, we all know it. We have frequently meetings. We all want to grow. That's nobody. We don't have like any huge chocolate maker in Nicaragua, so everybody knows each other. We all want to be successful. We all applaud when somebody gets awards. It's cool, because it's a small, right now it's a small industry where you can know everybody's name. And I can tell you, I like, for example, Argent Cup was here. I don't know if she's here anymore, but I like Argent Cup Apoyo bar. I think it's one of my favorites. From Momotombo, I like the one that has like dátiles atrás. It has dátiles. So from everybody, I like a product. And that's how it is. I think everybody brings their own. Even if you could be using the same beans, everybody brings their own taste. Everybody brings their own feeling to the product. So I think the market is big enough for everybody in Nicaragua, at least today. Maybe when it's packed, maybe no, I don't know. But right now, there's enough market for everybody to start making chocolate in Nicaragua.
That's great.
In
Someone
coffee,
wanted to know where to buy your chocolates and coffee.
Online right now. And right now, we actually don't have an offer of chocolate online, because it's completely taken. Like everything we make is sold. And I'm expecting for a new machine coming maybe this week, and we're gonna start like with more people. But that's how small the producers and the market is. It's like you just get it out and people will buy it because they feel the difference in taste, And yeah, it's okay. Gerardo is talking. Gerardo makes liquor. He's a farmer and he makes liquor from cacao. He has won 3 medals in the chocolate awards for drinks. So it's a diverse group of transformers. Like we make more than just chocolates. In the coffee side, there is like two different worlds. Like you have the specialty roasters, and then you have the rest. The rest is, I don't know them. They are. I know the specialty ones, and it's like 7, 8 of them. So it's still small. Like I'm in 2 areas or in 2 markets
Hold on, Claudio. I think
that are literally.
it just skipped a moment. Hold on. I think we might have a frozen screen again.
Now, can you hear me? Okay, so yeah, both market, like specialty coffee and specialty chocolate, are small still, that you can know everybody that is working in that field. That makes it cool, and that makes it also easier to work, because you can make relationship within the industry, and make new. For example, with the chocolate makers, we make ferias. We would go to a mall a weekend, for example. We have a yearly event. It's called the Festival de Chocolate, and people already is waiting for it. Like people know that in December, 1st of November or the last of November, I don't remember the date right now, they know it's coming. They know that's where they get the chocolate for Christmas. And it's like an established event. Great. So that's cool. That that's the power of the group to attract people, and with a cool product. I think like who doesn't like chocolate? Like that's everybody likes chocolate.
Yeah. So I want to be respectful of how much time you might have. Maybe just in some final 10 minutes or so, we could talk about the impacts of COVID and perhaps even climate change on the last couple of years, because you've certainly been living through some difficult moments there. And I'd like to acknowledge how the farmers and the chocolate makers and coffee roasters are overcoming those things.
So in Nicaragua, crisis, we're not stranger to crisis. We live in crisis all the time. So it's just which crisis we are living now. So 2018, it was the political crisis. Then recently is COVID. But for us, it's like, oh, here we go again. Like buckle up, because we already know how this goes. Last year, it was first there was a hurricane, category 4, and then there was a hurricane next, like 2 weeks later, category 5. So this year is election. Who knows what's going to happen? So, like the mentality here is never to like, echarse a morir. Like nobody has that mentality here. Like people know that, okay, this is coming, not to give up. Is to come ahead. Like how do you get ahead? And this is what happened with the hurricanes, for example, is that a lot of people especially in the Caribbean coast, where there's a lot of cacao, they lost a lot of their plantation. Gerardo, that is here in the chat, he lost many trees. Like the small trees, they were flooded in that area. Oh my gosh. So what he says is like, okay, I'm gonna grow again new trees.
Very resilient.
And yes, what like for me, what is scary is the climate change aspect in the long term. For coffee, it's going to hit very bad, because the projection of like what areas are suitable for coffee in the next 30 years, like if you see the maps and you see where coffee is growing right now, it only leaves out like little peaks of the country. So a lot of the area that is now being grown with coffee is like not suitable in 30 years. This is scary, because it's a product that, I'm saying 44,000 producers is top 3 income of the country if you put it in a perspective with gold and cattle. So it's going to have an impact if we start losing productivity, or if we start losing quality, or if we start losing the area suitable for coffee. So this is why also I see cacao as an opportunity, because cacao is more resilient to climate change in that sense. Like you don't need altitude, for example, to grow cacao. Literally growing cacao in my backyard, and I'm not in the mountains. So with coffee, you do need that altitude, to grow like good quality coffee. So what can happen, hopefully it doesn't get to that, but what could happen is that, the producer of coffee is gonna have to find another income,
Yeah.
another crop, and to substitute the coffee in the lower areas. That could be cacao. I think that product could be cacao. It could be something else, but in the short term is not, it's okay, but in the long term it's scary what can happen in the coffee in the world actually. With COVID, nothing has stopped. Like the farmers are working with, some of them they give the mask and people keep working. I ask all of the cooperatives that I source, like, what are you doing? Or like, is people coming to work? What's like, is somebody with COVID? No, Claudio, we are just taking measures and keep working. If we don't work, we don't eat. So it's not like work from home,
Yeah.
They cannot work from home. So the work has not stopped. Like work in the farm has not stopped. What was more affected was the hurricanes. Like those did affect the amount of cacao that was going to be produced. They affected the floration, even not just cacao, like trees like lemons, for example.
Sure.
They, with the winds, all the flowers are gone, all the production is gone. That happened a lot. And this is in the Pacific that we weren't hit that bad. But just with the winds, it affected the production. So anything with flowers, it went down. Anything that was flooded is gone. Yeah. Anything that was mainly in the Caribbean coast, it was floodings, what happened the most. But I mean, what else can you do? Is just to keep going.
Yeah, and you always do keep going. So I would love to maybe, offer a chance for you to say to others who are listening, because it's been great to see so many of your colleagues tune in from Nicaragua. But for those of us who are outside of the country, or maybe even outside of the region, how can we support you and people like you? What is the thing that you would offer for them to do, or say, or commit to?
Okay, I would really like to be like helping create these connections between like makers and producers, because I can, I have, if you come to me, I can put you in contact with somebody that's going to provide you good cacao, and I can make that happen. And why not start to do that now? If you have the contacts, I have the people that can, Viva La Finca was one of them. They can move product from Nicaragua to Canada, to the US. Like they already do this with coffee. Why not? They could put 2 bags of cacao there. And what I would like to see is more of the farmers being like in the package, like name, like where this is product coming from. I think that if you want to support that supply chain that is doing things better, then buy products that are worth the work of the farms. If you're buying nameless products, then this probably comes from a supply chain that doesn't award the farmer themselves. So always think that when you're buying, like you bought with your dollars, literally. So that's a way of helping. If you can trace where, like how this was made, if you can trace where is this farm, then you're likely buying from the right makers.
Right. I've been thinking a lot lately how when we see films or TV series, we watch the credits, and the credits roll, and there are these long lists of all the people that were involved, and how it takes hundreds and sometimes thousands of people to just be involved in a single movie. And it's very similar in the products that we eat, especially with coffee and cacao, when there's these long supply chains and thousands of kilometers of distance between us. And I would welcome people from all areas of that chain to put their name, on a list, or on however we could wrap that together so that could be added to websites and to potentially packaging space across the world. So there's an invitation to maybe get that started. But
that's a good idea. Yeah,
you're
you'll
welcome
see
to
the
take it. We
list
can
of
all share it.
people.
Yeah. But Claudia, it's been
Yeah.
so nice to get to know you further, and I appreciate you coming to talk to me at Chocoa. Now, what was that, 2019?
2000, that was before the pandemic, 2020. Yeah, I appreciate that you invited me to that party because it was cool. Like, wow, suddenly I was there with Greg that I read his book. He's like, oh, Greg is there. And then we talked there. A lot of cool people I met in that party.
Oh, I'm glad.
And yeah, and we still in touch. Um, so yeah, I think you also bring a lot of value because you're making a community around what's going to be probably the next way of doing business in cacao. And maybe you haven't realized that.
Well, it's a community effort. I mean, I always acknowledge that, without someone like you who's there on the ground and who sees it from your perspective and your eyes, we need that. We need the storytellers, the microphones. What are they called? I can't think of the word. Anyways, who are sharing and who are making a difference. Megaphones, there it is. From that place, because what we've been doing for 200, 400 years is not the way forward. And we all have to make a conscious effort to participate in things differently. And that's what I loved about your story. And you stated it from the beginning that you see that something isn't working and needs to be changed. And you're going to make that effort to produce that shift. So bravo to you for the ideas and for the initiative and for the commitment. And of course, the resiliency of you and your colleagues that are working through difficult circumstances and still coming out on top. So any final words, or otherwise we'll close for today and have people
buy Nicaraguan chocolates, buy Nicaraguan cacao to make great chocolates, and drink Nicaraguan coffee. Those are my final words.
Excellent.
And find out who makes them and where they come from.
Wonderful. Gracias, Claudio. Good luck tomorrow in this meeting that you have at the university, and may great things come of that and the project that you and your colleagues are working on.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Adiós. Chao. Gracias.
Bye.
Gracias a todos por escuchar.